Hi, I'm Nathan Oakley and this is video log number 34. In this video log I'm going to talk about John Carpenter's They Live. It gets used quite a lot in flat earth videos for some reason, and they always seem to go to the same part of the movie, which in my humble opinion is probably the only allegorical part of the movie, which is where they put the sunglasses on and see the real world around them. Now, I've made a whole bunch of notes on this, so I'll keep an eye on the time. I'll hopefully keep each video log down to about 5 minutes, so if this does spill into the second part of the film, then I'll just do a second video log about it. But I've made some notes and I'll just talk about the movie in general, give you an idea of its background, and then, like I say, if the actual explanation of the film goes over, then that's just the way it's going to have to be. So They Live is actually based on a short story called 8 O'Clock in the Morning by Ray Nelson, and it's set in a very heavy depression, so it's hard times, people are living in shanty towns. We start with the character showing that he's just moved town because he's been put out of work, so that's the sort of underpinnings of the whole story. But before the movie even gets going, we get predictably pre-programmed by Universal with the Globe. So this particular version is a DVD called Blu-ray. I'm not a big fan of just watching it on YouTube, even though it is there. I will even put a link in the video. But I encourage you all, buy your movies. People spend money making them, and it's only reasonable that we actually pay for them if we're going to watch them. So I bought the Blu-ray movie, not to get on my high horse. But at the beginning of it, because it's all remastered, there was a very bassy, very overdramatic Globe, followed by the original ident Globe that the movie had. Early on in the movie, we're told by one of the main characters that there is one golden rule, and that's he who has the gold has the rules. But while they're sat unemployed, so he's gone to his day of work, he goes back to his home, if you want to call it that, because they're outside, and it very much makes the idea that they're sat outside, they're not in homes, they're sort of out with the nature, even though they've got these sort of shanty town shacks that are everywhere. They're very much out in the open air. But it's the one thing they do have is a television set, so they're all sort of huddled around the outside burning fire and watching the only working TV, which has got adverts for nail polish and hairspray, and then it's interrupted by TV Man, as I will call him. And TV Man basically is what they would call a hacker, so he's interfered with the broadcast and is sort of preaching to them through the set with fuzzy lines because he's hacked the signal. And he basically explains that people are having their consciousness repressed through a signal that's broadcast day and night through the TVs, whether it's on or not. And it keeps the people controlled, turns them into slaves or cattle. So the main guy, while he's back in his shanty town, sort of overhears some singing from a church and wanders along to the church, only to discover that they've got a lab and they're making lenses. And he gets discovered by a blind preacher. And the blind preacher has quite interesting words to say. He says, "This world may have blinded me, but the Lord has let me see." And the guy escapes and carries on his general business. But after he escapes, that night, the same night, they actually raid the town. So the powers that be come over and take over the town. Now, at this point, I should really say that, in my view, the first half of the movie is not allegorical. It's very much translatable into reality. So if you want to use the example of the people coming to eradicate the town and just say, we're looking for these terrorists, the guy who's hacking the TV, they just destroy the town, the shanty town. And I saw an almost identical scene much more recently, but it was in Louis Theroux's episode. I think it was something or other Weird Weekends, and he goes to South Africa and the exact same thing happens. He sees the shanty towns just get taken to pieces by the government. They say they don't want them, so they take him away. But the point is, he's left with a wreck of a town, and he goes back to where the blind man tells him that the God lets him see, and finds some of these surplus, if you like, because the rest of the place has been wrecked, sunglasses. And when he puts the sunglasses on, he sees that billboards that are for a holiday actually say obey, or a book that he opens will say reproduce, have children. Another billboard sign will say no original thoughts, obey your government, stay asleep, things like this. Now we're at the 4.5 minute mark. To me, the first half of the movie is most definitely not a allegorical description of our world. It's a literal description of our world. where he's putting the glasses on and seeing messages hidden in plain sight, they are just hidden in plain sight. The glasses are the only bit that you could take away from the movie, because the rest of it is very much literal. Now, he also discovers, when he's got the glasses on, that people look very different too. So he sees a guy in a very sharp suit. So it's the first, I'm going to call them reptiles, but the first reptile he encounters is in a very sharp grey suit and looks the business. But when he puts the sunglasses on, he kind of turns into this type of thing that this woman with the curlers in looks like. So he turns into a reptile, and the main protagonist gets very scared by this reptile, and sort of stumbles away while the guy's saying, "What the hell are you looking at?" The reptile, that is. And as he wanders around, he realises he'll wander through a crowd, and I sort of quickly totted up how many people he encounters. But as a rough figure, about 1 in 20 people he sees just in the open area are these reptiles, roughly about the same percentage as psychopaths in our society. So about 5% of people in general, doesn't matter where, doesn't matter who, 5% or 1 in 20 of us are psychopaths, and that's approximately the same number of people he comes across when he's out and about. But when he goes into the slightly more sort of middle class or upper class areas, the percentage of psychopaths increase. In other words, when he's in the poor areas, there's no psychopaths. When he's in the rich areas, there's more of them. But when he's out on the street, it's about 1 in 20 from what I could calculate recently watching it. So we're up to nearly 7 minutes now, so I'll probably leave it there. But that's my take on sort of the first half of They Live, and the message I want to get across. I highly encourage everybody watches it. I will put a link below and in the second part of this video log series about They Live. Have a watch of it, and the only thing I should say, take on board what I'm saying, and that's that it's not allegorical. It's not a hypothetical example of our world. It is our world if you ignore the sunglasses and just realise that you can open your eyes and see this stuff yourself without some magical sunglasses showing you the subliminal world that we live in. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you in the next video log.